Like special stuff.
You get a $6.
I have probably a bleeding disorder of some sort, but I had a lot of early miscarriages. Every woman I know who's had miscarriages deals with it differently. For quite a lot of people who only have one or two, it's a very painful. For me individually, the first one was the most traumatic, but after that you just sort of get numb to it.
It started about 14, 15 years ago. We looked at various places, and Cambodia is one of the places that we looked at. And we were looking for a pair of siblings because we thought that it would help the process if there were two of them to sort of give each other support or something, is what we thought.
We were a little concerned about adoption trafficking at the time, making sure that we did it properly. So we thought if we asked for older siblings, these were the children least likely to be for anyone to want to adopt, and they were less likely to be sold. Someone from the US, an adoption lawyer, emailed me and said, I knew of a pair. I just got their dossier, would you like to see the photograph? And they emailed the photograph to me, and I fell off my chair crying, because as soon as I saw the photo, and I'd seen lots and lots of photos, I was like, that's it. These are the kids that we're going to end up adopting. I have no idea why. We were just waiting to go home in a couple of weeks. My daughter, Nari, pointed to a landmark in Phnom Penh and said, that's where my family is. Can we see them before I go home? And we had been told that their dad had left them in a rural orphanage way out in the provinces, and that there were no other siblings. The mother had died. So I was like, okay, who? And so she told me, she had her dad and her mom and her older sisters and her younger brother and everyone, and they lived in Phnom Penh. At that point, we didn't know what to do. Slowly, they got healthier, and over the next 6 months, do you remember the McDonald's play figures? We would, from the Happy Meals, like little dolls, we would reenact what she could remember. We didn't want to stress her out because it was really stressful for her remembering all these things, because she'd been threatened never to tell us anything, that she should keep her mouth shut. But slowly we sort of figured out what roughly had happened, when she and her brother had been sold, how many relatives there were, and so on. So we went back. Nari was walking along. I was carrying him because he was still a toddler. And she recognized a little girl who was gathering cans to sell. 20 minutes later, there's this crowd running down the road towards us, and our oldest daughter, Moy, was at the front. She thought she'd never ever see them again. And there was possibly one of the worst hours of our life, sitting in that crowd waiting for a translator to turn up, while a woman who we thought might be the kid's mum was trying to take Nara out of my hands. It turned out to be really complicated. There was no family to return to. Things had just been destroyed through a series of health and financial crisis, and parents couldn't take care of the kids. So the one thing that the kids wanted to do was to be back together again, at least, and we got the parents' permission. So that's how we wound up adopting 4 kids. So it was 3 years start to finish.
Yeah, about 3 years. So by 2003, I guess.
Isaac, who was the middle brother, he was 7, and he was so happy to be back with his siblings, but it was such a trauma. Suddenly, he was so angry and so happy at the same time, and the only way he could express it to this weird white lady who'd come along was he would attack me. He would bite me, and so I'd sit there in the hotel with him with his just jaws sunk into my wrist, but he was waiting to see whether I would hit him. So I never hit him. Now he's 17 and I hope will never bite me again. So.
Because I didn't know Singapore, I didn't know where I was and what's the environment, who's the people going to meet, or is it going to be safe here? It was confusing. I was abused badly. Yeah, I remember a lot. It's still in my head. Like beaten up, and I don't have enough food to eat. I feel Singapore is better for me, and I mean it's very safe, so I don't really get beaten up or abused.
It was the travel expenses, yeah, and I couldn't work. Jimmy couldn't work full-time sometimes when the kids needed 2 full-time parents because they needed a lot of hands-on. We had to homeschool them because they'd had almost no school. So a lot of catch-up, a lot of paying for extra services. They had therapy. We had a lot of additional things to pay for. They sort of represent our condominium that we did not get to buy. A Mercedes-Benz, yes. So, I mean, I'd rather have 4 children than a Mercedes-Benz, but 4 children and a Mercedes-Benz would be nice.
All kids go through different issues at different ages. And so parenting children of different ages means that you have to deal with different issues.
And 1 year, one's doing okay, then the other one's has something, then it goes back. And so it's just, I guess if you have one child, you can have stretches of peace and quiet, right?
Yeah, because
When
you get
you're 5,
used to, you know.
No.
Yeah,
It's a blue moon that you ever get, like, everybody is fine all at one time. I'm constantly tired. I don't know anything different.
I think I'm more tired now.
Oh, because of the sleep. You were exhausted when they were little as well. Pretty much. The first reaction was, what are you thinking? You're so old. I had a very different experience being pregnant than most people would because there was like a 90% chance that she would die. We did not expect to have a heartbeat. We didn't expect to make it past 20 weeks or any of it. So she was a big surprise. It was very strange sort of to be pregnant and to not know if the baby was alive or dead.
The girls look after Maggie very well and they treat her very well and they like taking her out, they dress her up and you know, they like spending time with her.
Roger was not thrilled to have, so.
To be displaced as the youngest.
I remember taking out, because I'd saved some of his baby things, taking them out and him going, you're not giving her that. It's like, you're not using them. She can't have them anyway. We learned some really difficult lessons early. Like, your kid's grades really don't matter. What matters is your kid healthy? Is your kid happy? Does your kid have a future? You know, is your kid going to be a good person who can manage independently or at least stand on their own? And those are the things that really count. All you can do is help them figure out who they are and hopefully give them the tools and the character to grow up to be decent people who work hard, who try hard.
Accepting your children
For who they are.
and you know, celebrating that.